Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're calling in from and dialing in from. Very nice to have you guys join this session. It's going to be an exciting one. We have the pleasure of having Gurmit Singh,
Where?
well-loved local icon, to join our presence today to talk a bit more about
Hey.
mental health, right? So really great to have you on, Gurmit. I'm going to do an introduction shortly, but I think
Mhm.
this session really we've got a pleasure of having you on, Gurmit, to share a bit more about your personal journey in mental health, outside of mental health,
Mm.
and just how it's been for you, the ups and downs and in between. All right.
Right.
So really glad to have you on. And I'm just going to start off with introducing the panel as well. All right. So it's, all three of us on this call today, we're going to talk a bit more about mental health, hear from Gurmit his whole experiences, and just kind of highlight the mental festival with someone that we know and love very well. So just to start off, firstly, my name is Theodoric. I am the co-founder and CEO of Intellect, and it's very nice for me to be here with our panel here. And so I'll be the main host moderator for this session. And we have got as well Linda Rin. She is a clinical ops lead at Intellect, but more importantly, she's a clinical psychologist. So we will have the benefit of having her around to provide perspective from a expert's point of view, bounce some ideas, share some thoughts. And Gurmit, if any questions, feel free to throw it to Linda's way.
Any questions? Any questions? So if I want to
Any
know about
questions?
housing loan interest rates and
Yeah,
I'll try
she
to
will
car
answer.
loans.
she'll share her views. She'll share her views.
Okay.
But yeah, and definitely towards mental health as well. You can ask her anything in that line. And yeah, so that's Linda and that's myself. And importantly, we have Gurmit yourself here today joining
Yep.
us. We have the honor of you joining us. I think a lot of us from Singapore and the region, more than just Singapore, Malaysia, and the whole of the region, know Gurmit from a lot of his past works from Phua Chu Kang towards a lot of stuff that he's done as well. So it's a real honor, Gurmit, to have you here. I'll pass time to you to give a bit of a quick introduction. I know folks know you, but feel free to take it away with a quick intro.
Okay. It's an honor to be here too. I guess when it comes to mental health, the first thing that you thought was me. I don't know whether it's a compliment or it's he's got problems. Let's get him on. Here I am. Those of you who don't know who I am, because I cannot assume that everybody knows me, right? I mean, there are people who don't have televisions or don't want to watch television shows or just refuse to be part of this celebrity, whatever thing or profile. So those of you who don't know me, it's okay because I don't know who you are also. So that's fine. But just so you know, I'm very famous. I've been in the business since, oh my goodness, not to use a calculator. I've been in the business since 1994. And that, when I say business, I mean show business and professionally being paid a salary or commissioned and all that kind of thing. Before that, I was actually serving my national service in the SAF Music and Drama Company. So I got a bit of training there, doing dancing and acting and singing. And I've always loved that ever since I was in school. But in 94, I was signed up with back then called SBC, which is our national broadcaster. And they thought, yeah, this guy has got potential. Let's put him on. And I came on and did a hosting gig. It was called Live on 5. And just a bit of context about that show and how that affects my mental health is that that was the first live show in Singapore. Previous to that, every other show was pre-recorded because we didn't want anybody acting a fool or doing vulgarities on live TV and people are like, oh, you say that word. So everything was pre-recorded. But this one being the concept that it was a variety show with 5 different stages, audience not sitting down, standing and just pivoting around at the 5 different stages while different things are happening. We convinced, or rather the station was convinced that, okay, we must do a live show. My experience back then for TV was zero. I had no experience whatsoever. Before that, I had performed in Haw Villa for 4 years, but that was theatre. That was stage. It's a different ball game altogether, a different beast. So coming into the auditions, I was very stressed. I had no idea what to do. All they said was, hey, look at the camera for 1 minute and talk about yourself. And then pretend to interview somebody on your right who is an international star in Singapore for 1 minute. And then that was it. Then they called me into the studio for a shortlisted session. And the next thing I knew, I was chosen. And I became the only host for that show. It was supposed to be 2 of us, but I was the only show. And because it was live every Monday night, I had diarrhea. Yeah. So I look at it in a positive way. Every Monday night, I was detoxing. Come Tuesday, I was like, oh, so flat, my stomach. That's good. But it was a roller coaster ride. Every Monday night, I would be so fearful of failing, right? Because I really am a greenhorn. But here's the thing. Before I get on stage, I get my diarrhea, my butterflies, and my self-doubt and all that kind of thing. But once I go on stage and the cameras roll and we were live, my hamster wheel would turn very fast, thinking about how to do this well, how to say that line, who to connect with, the camera, which camera is going, which studio audience is looking at me and waving at me or smiling or whatever. Millions of things happening in my head, so much so that I forgot about the worries and the failings and all that. So it was only after every episode when we finished, that was breathe a sigh of relief and then realize, okay, I've done one show, so let's go for the next one. And it was pretty much like that. And next thing you know, I became a household name because the show got great reviews and my name was very popular because it's Gurmit Singh. What is Singh? Gurmit Singh was not a usual name you see on TV back then. And quickly I realized that it was, I was in a different environment altogether. Before this, I could walk down the street and it would be fine. Nobody will give two hoots about who's this guy. But now, as soon as I step out of my car and my house, I am public property. Everybody wants to take a picture or a signature or pass their babies to me so they can take picture with their babies. I don't know why people do that. Or just have a chat, you know. And it became quite strenuous, I guess, because that means I didn't have my own space. And rightfully so, I couldn't demand for it because as far as I'm concerned, this is my philosophy, that my paymasters, my bosses, is the audience. As far as they are happy with me, as long as they are engaged with what I do, then I'll continue to have my livelihood. But as soon as I piss them off and cut them off, that's it. I have to look for other jobs. So in a nutshell, that was it. I mean, there were very many highs and lows in my careers. I don't know if I should mention it now or should I just shut up now? Because I can talk until your batteries run flat. That's my gift of gap, actually.
That is your gift. And it's super helpful. I mean, we will get into those stuff in a bit. I think that's great contact. You've done a much better job introducing yourself than I did. Local icon, regional icon, actor, host, and I think a whole other slew of things that you do today as well that ranges beyond just that. But it's really great to hear how you got started in SBC back in the 90s and have had that, I think, natural journey. I think it's really, really interesting. And just out of curiosity, Gurmit, like what sparked, and this doesn't relate exactly to mental health, but what got you started into the scene of like media acting? And was this something that you always had a passion in? You mentioned you were in SEF, you're part of the music and drama division, right? Yeah. So was it something that was interest to you?
It was something that happened in school. Essentially, I'm an introvert. If I'm left to my own devices, I'm alone. I am an introvert. I don't have to make too much noise. I don't have to be the center of the party. I'm also one who has inferiority complex, which means my mind is always telling me, you're lousy, you're not good enough for this, you're not tall enough, you're not strong enough, you're not white enough, brown enough, black enough, you don't talk well enough. And the list goes on. It's a continuous loop. But what I discovered was when I get onto stage, and this is actually kind of an oxymoron, when I get on stage, I felt released from that inferiority complex. I had my fears and everything, but because now I took on a different persona, I'm not Gurmit Singh anymore. I am a bit of Gurmit Singh or big part of Gurmit Singh, but there's someone else who's in front between me and you, and therefore I feel safe. And therefore I feel like, oh, I'm somebody else. I can do something now. I'm less inhibited. I'm less of an introvert. I am less inferior. And even after doing whatever shows I did, then the inferiority complex would hit me. Oh, you did a lousy show. You're lousy. You're not funny enough. You're not good enough and all that. But while I was doing it, it gave me a sense of gratification, out of body experience, if you will. I don't know how to, my English is not very eloquent, but it made me a different person and enjoyed it. So I was happy to continue doing that.
We lost you for a second. Oh, the video's
Yeah,
back on.
somebody tried to call me on.
No worries, no worries. That's great.
Yeah.
So I mean, sorry, do go on, Gurmit.
Yeah, so it started when I was a little boy and in secondary school. I got on the stage. Could hardly play the piano, but the teacher said, "No, you play the piano and we'll sing the song." I only played with 3 fingers, and still I did it anyway. And that was, I think, my journey, my start. So when the opportunities arise, like when I auditioned for the Army SAF Music and Drama Company, I got the gig and I went in there, served my national service there. And after that, I was asked to join Haw Villa, which is our Singapore's theme park. It's now defunct, but it ran for a good 4-5 years before everything was shut down. And it was our own, very own, and I say with a lot of pride, our very own Disneyland in Singapore. And we had to do productions. We did musicals. We did character park walks. We did spontaneous ad hoc things as we were walking in the park as characters. Many things like that. And then I went on to be in a band in Indonesia, singing, because I love singing. And then I came back, and then next thing you know, I'm asked to come in for audition for TV, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Amazing. So you and the team paved the way for USS to be what it is today with the whole part.
Yeah, right. They should pay me royalties.
That's good. And you touched on a few key things that we'll segue into in a bit, right? I think your own origin story, how you got started into something that you're passionate about, what helped you actually take away your concerns and be really in the moment. But you alluded a bit towards your inferiority complex and whatnot as well. Before that, I realized I missed, and I'm going to pass this to Linda to give a brief intro of herself as well. We need.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's she doing? Why is she so quiet?
Yeah, Linda, please, if you don't mind, a quick background on yourself as well.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Thank you so much. I mean, I was having a great time just sitting back, listening to this. But yeah, my name is Linda. I'm a clinical psychologist. I originally studied in the Netherlands. I'm from Germany, but always had the drive to live and work around Southeast Asia, specifically Singapore, if possible, although that's always harder than you think. And yeah, now I'm with Intellect. I'm really excited about being one of the behavioral health coaches on our app, and also being able to kind of be in the background and help, get this app out to everybody and really just make mental health more accessible.
Amazing. Thanks, Linda. So we're going to have Linda chiming in a little bit to share her thoughts as an expert in the space, as a clinician as well. But yeah, so that's really interesting. We got a bit of the origin as to how Gurmit got into showbiz, right? So that's really interesting. But you touched on this, right? I wanted to go in a bit more into what mental health means to you. You touched on this, that you've had your ups, you've had your downs, and you touched a bit about the inferiority complex as well that you faced. Yeah. So if you don't mind, let's dive into that a bit. When did you first realize you had it? How did you deal with it? What was that like for you?
I can't remember a particular date, like 1972, like that. But I remember growing up as young as I was 10, 11 years old. Always felt like the runt of the family, because my sisters were always scoring good grades. They were top 10 in class or school. I was top 10 from the bottom. So there always was a comparison. My late mother actually said, "How come you like that? Why aren't you like your sister?" So that didn't help, but I don't blame her for it. I mean, it was obvious, it was a fact. And then when I did things, there was always this voice that's talking to me. I'm not schizo, by the way. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. And for example, this is some years after I've joined the TV station, and I'm hosting the Miss Singapore Universe pageant. To the audience, I always come across as a ever jovial, ever easygoing guy, who takes things as it comes, and then just try to make everybody happy. So part of my job was to interview the girls. Now, during our full dress rehearsal, I memorized all 30 names, right? And the girls were very impressed. Then during the actual show, the live show, while I'm talking to them and everything, making everybody at ease, and I purposely would go out of my way to make sure they're at ease, because when they are at ease, and anyone is at ease, they are able to answer better instead of being, crippled with fear. So that was my job as far as I was concerned, talking to the judges, the audience, the people at home, and the ladies. But all this time, while this is going on, my mind was telling me, you are such an F. What are you doing here? You are an ugly asshole. This girl next to you probably now wants to vomit. Why are you standing so close to her? You smell like excrement. Did you pay the judges so that you could be on this stage? Everybody now watching at home are probably disgusted with you because it's like typical Beauty and the Beast. Oh my God, you're spoiling. So it goes on and on and on and on. And in the meantime, I'm just like, so, okay, our next contestant is, and then this voice is just going on and on. And I did that for 1 year. I did that for the second year. And second year, when I was finished, finals done, okay, over, took my car, drove home. On the way home, I just broke down. I cried. I couldn't take it anymore because it was so real. I believed, and I believed I had done a travesty to the show and to the people watching the show. And I knew it wasn't real, but I also knew that I could not do another one. So after a while, I went back to the producers and the manager rather, and explained what had happened in confidence, and said that if there's ever a gig like this again, I don't want to be the host. So thereafter, I've never hosted Miss Singapore Universe ever. They've taken other hosts. Yeah. So things like that are always playing my mind. In my career, it's a very some people think it's an easy career. You know, you come in, say a few lines, laugh, and then you get endorsement. It's not. You have to do a lot of hard work, stand in the sun, repeat your lines over and over again. And after doing all that, you open up your social media and people are just disgusted with you, unhappy with you, throw at you their own, virtual red tomatoes, and it gets you. I will not lie. I maybe others are stronger than me, then well done, kudos to you. But it got to a point, I think, because I think the more famous you are, the more people will try to bring you down. And even the local newspapers, there were, back then there were tabloids and all. And there were, of course, sensational journalists who would try to squeeze in an angle just so they can sell a paper, I think. And I know that for sure because 3 of those journalists, after they left the papers, they DM me and they apologized because they said they were forced to do that, to just bring me down. So it's sensational, can sell paper, editors are happy. So I'm grateful for that. But they will write things about, this guy cannot make it, and they started listing things that don't even, they're not very credible. And they started going into personal life about how I'm probably a lousy father and stuff like that, So that's how desperate they were. To the point where, and this is when I was feeling very low, that I decided, you know what, I'm done. I am done. So that particular day, I was supposed to turn up for my technical rehearsal for my talk show. This was called Tonight with Gurmit, a la David Letterman and all that. But I didn't show up. And the executive producer called me and said, hey, you okay? Where are you? We're waiting for you. I said, no, I'm done. I'm going to tender my resignation. And I was in tears and I said, all my so-called career life, I have only wanted to entertain people. And hopefully they get a little smile out of it. I did not go out to hurt people. But that's not what the journalists are saying. That's not what the haters are saying. And I cannot take it anymore because I can't go on thinking that, I'm doing this. And the executive producer say, hey, shut the F up lah. Just come in. I'll talk to you. Don't worry about them. Just come in, do your bit now because you have to do this. So I went in reluctantly, and I finished the show. I finished the episode. In fact, I finished the whole season and continued to do work. And it wasn't the last one because I kept getting stuff like that over and over again. So there's always a battle to remain robust, strong against all these hits. And you just have to learn to filter what is true and what is just, plain old poo-poo. Yeah. So it's not an easy career. It's not an easy thing, especially for an introvert like me. But the thing is that once I get in front of the camera, I forget about my insecurities, my inferiority. I forget about the haters and all that. All I care about is you, the audience, because you are now, in my mind, wasting your time looking at me, hopefully to be entertained by me. And if I don't deliver, I'm an asshole. Whether it's a high-paying job, gig, or just a free pro bono thing, it still is the same duty. So that sense of duty is very strong in me. I think my parents brought me up very well in that sense. And I just need to please you. I just need to help you. I just need to maybe just point you the way to a better place wherever in your life, and with what little I do. And that's where I come from.
That's super empowering. Thanks for sharing again, man. I think it's really, eye-opening to hear the other side of the coin, whereby we all see the Gurmit that we know and love, the public that's it's always happy, it's always trippy, but there's the other side of the coin whereby there's a lot of pressure that come with being in showbiz, right? As the more popular you get, there's also a lot of the more known you get, the more love, the more hate as well, right? I think you get a mix, and I think even before social media, there's been always all these tabloids and stuff that also comment on different things as you just laid out. So a mix of things that actually affects everyone, but especially when you're in such a spotlight figure, people forget that you are still human as well, right? I think it's a key. You touch on nicely. So a lot of good I think very, very notable points that I think applies and opens a lot of perspective as to how you feel as well as an individual. But I want to pass this a bit as well to Linda. I think we heard Gurmit share a bit about what things he actually faced, right, from having diarrhea, feeling like puking, really taking a stop and that's it, right? I want to step away from things. I guess broadly, what are your thoughts on this, and how does this relate to the people, and how actually do you think we can actually take a perspective to this that could help us cope with such outside forces? When in today's world, I won't add too many words here, but social media is everywhere, right? We all get different forms of input from people we know and don't know and stuff like that. So Linda, if you could just share some thoughts on how we can relate to this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that personal experience. It's always, ironically, it's easier to say, oh, I had diarrhea than talk about the really hard things about mental health. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I think these are all things that we can relate to some extent, even if, each of us, we're not on stage, we're not on live television, but there's a certain component to it. Students having to give a presentation beforehand, you're so nervous, and maybe you also have diarrhea and you feel like vomiting. And then once you're on there and you're in the front, and all you're thinking about is your presentation, and the thoughts are in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm doing everything wrong, or whatever those thoughts are that you have. But it's definitely something that we can all relate to a certain extent. And I think, I don't know about you personally, how you've dealt with this, but I think from a psychological point of view, there are kind of two aspects to it. Number one, the external world. I mean, you definitely want to influence how much of those negative voices, how much of that, those negative opinions, whether it's tabloids or something else, is coming in. So, for somebody who's being bullied, if you can avoid the bullies as much as possible, that would be amazing, But then there's that second component, because we can't completely influence our environment. That's the bottom line. So the second component is, okay, how do we react? What happens within us when that stress, when that negativity hits us? And there are many different aspects to it. I think the biggest one is the self-talk. How, when those thoughts come up, how do we react? Do you say, yeah, that's true, I am disgusting and I smell bad and I shouldn't be here? Or do you say something like, you know what? So I smell bad. Okay. It is what it is. This beautiful lady next to me will have to deal with it, and I'll shower after the show or something. It's not about telling yourself you're perfect and you can do everything amazingly, but about being a bit more realistic and saying, you know what, okay, I am flawed, and that's okay, and I'll keep working on it. And in a talk like this, it's so easy to say, oh, it's just be a bit more positive, but it's really hard work.
Yeah.
And changing that self-talk within yourself is a never-ending skill, really.
That's a great point. I think that sheds a lot of perspective, and thanks for relating it towards, I think, like what folks listening in would also relate to, like presentations and stuff like that as well. That's really, really interesting. I want to go to the next bit, Gurmit, whereby you touch on this a bit briefly, and I just want to expand a bit more. Right, you have gone through really, really great like exposure in Singapore media. You were Portugal, everyone knew you, and with this heightened exposure, I'm sure, and you touch on this, a lot of stresses happen. Right, you can't step out of your house, your car without being recognized. A lot of eyes on you. I'm gonna assume everyone's anxiety, but in such a public spotlight, there's a whole lot more anxiety involved than actually how you deal with such eyes. You can't go around saying things, doing things that in the past you could do, right? You have to quite what people might think as well. So I think it's really more towards anxiety. Was that something that you struggle with? I'm sure you mentioned you did a bit, and what you shared earlier. But how was that like for you when at the peak of everything, right? Like everyone knows you locally, regionally. How did you deal with that?
I'll tell you a story. At the start, when I became famous, one day before that, I was nobody. But once the marketing thing went out and my first show went out, the next day I was damn famous. So I am at the shopping mall, Isetan. I don't know if it's still around. I don't think it's Isetan. Just my usual self, still the same Gurmit Singh. Looking at the shelves, hoping to select my underwear. I'm hoping to buy 3 pieces maybe today. And then suddenly I hear giggling. I was like, okay, underwear don't giggle. What is coming? And I listen a bit more. Sounds like 3 people giggling behind me. And I'm like, okay. But it sounds like they're giggling at me, So I had that sense. I turned around, true enough. Cashier counter, 3 sales assistants. Gurmit Singh. And I'm like, oh, yeah, hello. Hi. Hello. Okay. All right. So I turn back again to the shelf and I'm looking. And then I start to think, I am going to buy an underwear now. But 3 girls behind me are looking at what underwear I'm going to buy. What color, what pattern, what design, and more importantly, what size. How do I do this? Maybe I should buy extra large. Just to overcompensate a bit. But then maybe they know I'm actually lying and actually I should buy extra small. So, and maybe the thing is extra small, but it's not extra small. So I don't know. I was just, for a good 3 minutes, I was just standing there looking at underwears, but thinking about how to take the next step. And then I decided, okay, this is what I have to do. I kid you not, looking at the shelf still, I walked sideways like a crab without turning around, and I went home. From that day on, I have never bought underwear in Singapore. I always buy underwear when I'm on holidays. I try online, but the wrong size. Every time it comes, it's the wrong size. Forget about online. So when I'm overseas, then I buy my underwear. And these are things that people, I think, sometimes fail to recognize that we go through. The opposite could be true too. There are some celebrities who love to show whatever they're doing. Whatever one underwear they bought and they're like flashing it and showboating and all that. But I'm not that kind of, like I said, I'm introvert, so I don't need that, you see. And because I know that who I am and what my job entails, I always tell myself, if I'm not ready for all that intrusion, I put it in a nice way, in a good way, then don't step out of the car, don't step out of the house. It is my call. Like Linda just said, how can you react and how can you control external environment? If I'm not ready for the external environment, don't go there then. Right? Why do you throw yourself there, wear sunglasses and shades and wear a hat and then sit in a corner at a cafe and then someone comes to you, can I have don't disturb me, can't you see I need my space? They're like, but the guy didn't know, that person didn't know that you were going through all these emotions, They saw you, they say public figure, public meaning public lah. So everybody has, can come in and chocho you. So they come and get your autograph or whatever, and you cannot turn around and say, no, I'm not a public figure now because I need my me time. So I've learned to do that a lot. And of course, there were times when, even when I wanted my privacy, it did not come. And case in point would be when my mom and dad passed away in 2001 and 2003, respectively. And of course, there's a funeral, and there is, and the tabloids were up in arms with the cameras and everything. And they came to the services, and I told them to go away, and they still did not want to do that. And then I got angry. I grabbed the camera and all, shouted at them, and finally they went away. I didn't like that, but I felt I was forced to do it, and I had to let them know this is the last line. Public figure or not, I just need time to grieve. So when it came to my dad's passing, I was that same year I was awarded ATV award and also Star Awards. So I took that platform to make an announcement of sorts that my father just passed away recently only, and I'm still grieving. And if I don't smile to you, I don't wave to you, I don't take pictures with you, just forgive me, give me some time. And I use that hopefully to reach out as many people as possible. Of course, there were some people who still came to me on the street and say, "Hey, how are you? Why so glum?" Because they had no idea what was happening. And we just had to I just had to deal with it. Like you said, there's a lot of anxiety in my job. I think in all jobs, right? We all want to perform well. Whether you are a janitor, whether you are a marketing guy, whether you are the CEO, we all have KPIs. Some of us are intangible KPIs to deliver. And then we're always asking, "Oh, did I do enough?" It's the same for my job as well. Mine so even more fickle-minded, because for no apparent reason, I could become the flavor of the month and then the disgusting flavor of the month. And the next thing you know, nobody wants me. And because nobody wants me, no TV shows will hire me then. And I'm straight away, just like that, out of a livelihood. Whereas if you have another job that has a paper, a certificate, a degree, you can go to a different company or a different country even and apply. I can't go to US and say, "Hey, I'm an actor. Can you hire me now?" It doesn't work that way. Then going out with the family is another thing as well, because when I go out with my family, I want to have time with my family, but not everybody sees it that way. So there's a lot of pre-planning to be done. Should we go at this time? Should we go on this day? Where should we go? Whether it's to eat or to chill, things like that. That myself and the family have to go through. Yeah,
that's a great point. Thanks for sharing that, Gurmit. So I think a few things you touched on from having to be very conscious about like how what you can and can't do now that you're in public spotlight, and having to accept that there is a certain not rights per se, but certain things you trade off to be in the public spotlight, whereby you got people run up to you all the time. But I think what you touched on really, really nicely is that there are certain things that you can do to draw boundaries for yourself as well, right? You let the public know in your ATV like award like speech that you're grieving, you need space, and that's what draws the line, and even towards like knowing what you want to do. And I think you've been just hearing you mentioning you've been practicing social distancing from years back already.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of social distancing, right? I would have thought because of our COVID protocols nowadays, we wear masks and everything, I have a bit more, hidden time. But no, people still recognize me. I ride a motorbike as well, and I was wearing a full face helmet, so you could just see my eyes. And I went to pay the cashier at the petrol station. I haven't spoken a word. She looked into my eyes. She said, "Hi, Gurmit." I said, how do you know it's me? Maybe it's not me. No, she said, "I recognize your eyes." Stalker alert? Maybe? I don't know. But
very good eyes. Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, that's I think important. But I mean, interesting to know that it hasn't changed much for you still.
But
also, good to know that you drew some lines and you drew some boundaries as to how actually you lived as well, right? I think that applies towards not just like people in show business and public spotlights, but also just anyone in general, whether you're in the working setting and school or wherever you're in, right? Linda, a perspective, like how what do you think about that? Like like what Gurmit mentioned, like beyond what I just talked about as well. Anything to add towards that?
Yeah, definitely. I think again, it's a very relatable point. Whether you have an office job or whatever you got going on, there's some point where you need to draw boundaries. And most of the time we feel uncomfortable about doing that.
Right.
So, as an example, if your CEO, Theo, sends you a Slack message at 9 p.m. and you're like, I really want to answer, but I shouldn't be answering because it's after hours. No, he doesn't do that, but as an example. And then you want to set that boundary, like, okay, should I be answering now? And if you say, okay, I won't answer it, and then the next morning you have 5 more messages, why didn't you answer? You'll have that guilty feeling, and you'll feel like, ooh, drawing that boundary in the moment, it might have helped, but the whole evening I was just thinking about what did I do wrong? Maybe I should have reacted, and so on. And it's kind of this give and take of having to practice setting those boundaries to make it easier eventually, and also knowing exactly where your boundaries lie. So it sounds like you really know what that line is for you, like you were talking about the funeral, or certain moments that are really important, like the grieving period and so on. But then you also said, when I'm buying my underwear, fair enough. When I'm sitting at the cafe with a hat, fair enough. So kind of where that boundary is. And I think it's really hard to find it and then to stick to it as well for almost all of us.
Can I just add what Linda was talking about? And I just sparked an idea. I think a lot of people, when you talk about guilt, a lot of people feel guilty when they have me time. They think that's a wrong thing to do. No, you should be working all the time for either your work, your office, your boss, or your family members, your wife or your husband, your spouse, your partner. You must always be working for somebody. And then if you're taking time off for yourself, it's a bad thing. It's a no-no. And I think a lot of people have that, me included, for the longest time. And I realized that was always backfiring. I realized that when I finally took that chance and the courage to do a me time thing, it can be a massage, it can be a computer game, it could be a nice, good movie, a good book, what have you. Whatever makes you reset and gets your going, okay, I'm done, I can move on now. I think it's very important because once I did that, I realized I was even more productive for whatever work I had after that. Would that be true, Linda?
Most definitely, yeah. And I think there's almost that additional layer. Like layer number one is, okay, I feel like I should be working, let's say, or I need to be productive. Once you say, okay, I'll take a break. If you manage to take a break, let's say you're watching a TV show, a lot of times then we're still guilty because we say, you know what, I should have used this time better. Not necessarily productive for work, but you feel like I should have used it to, I don't know, journal or do something on self-development or something. So we have that added level of it's never, it's always, it could be more productive. Even relaxation could be productive. We should be meditating and doing all of these things. And I think in the moment with such short-term people, we think, okay, I have 30 minutes now. What I really want to do is fix these 5 tasks for work. Instead of saying, if I take these 30 minutes and relax, the rest of my day is going to be much more productive. But it's really hard to come to that point and to that realization.
So is there any magic steps that we can take to get to that realization? Are there the 7 important steps to get into that realization spot? Yeah,
so I mean, first of all, magic steps sadly do not exist in psychology. Not that I know of. I wish. No, I think it's just about convincing yourself bit by bit. That one time on Monday morning where you say, okay, now I'm going to take a break. And then even if you feel nervous about it, you still take it. And then, maybe it takes a week until you do it again, but you try to push yourself again. And just sitting with those feelings of guilt that might a lot of times come up, or that doubt of like, should I really be relaxing right now?
Right.
Letting those come in and say like, you know what, we'll see how it works. I've been told that it works for a lot of people. Let me try it. And then, just kind of noticing yourself how that works for you.
Let me be one of those. It works.
Yes.
Maybe those who are reluctant to try, maybe they can take baby steps. So instead of a half an hour break, they take a 5-minute coffee break, or a 5-minute away from social media and do something else, like iron your shirt. Because some people get off on iron shirt. They're like, oh, this is so therapeutic. I once found myself daydreaming while washing dishes, and I would like look out the window, and there's so much soap, but the thought I just felt calm. So my wife is happy about that I like to wash dishes.
That's great. That's a good one. And that's super interesting to hear of I think, both coming your perspective, the other hand as well, and also what Linda shared in terms of how we could it's not magic. It takes like
Yeah.
work and a process to actually chip away at this, right? I was just gonna share like just sharing a bit about. I know I'm moderating this session, but just from my own perspective as well. I'm a young CEO, I'm a young founder that runs a company that has different things to do, right? I've done many things that I've had needed to do things that I haven't done before. Speak with investors, speak with clients, grow a team that the largest that I've ever worked with before as well. So things that you have had to really step up and figure out even when you don't know what you're doing. I think it brings back the point to what you mentioned earlier. Inferiority complex imposter syndrome is one that many of us face in different forms. I think that's always that what Linda mentioned earlier, that the self-talk inside your head that you are not good enough, you are not that. And the truth is probably you are not yet, right? I think it's okay to have that. I think the perception here is that it's okay, at least in what I talk about, it's okay that I'm not there yet. It's okay that there's a better CEO out there that can do better than me. There's a better company out there that can do something better than me around the world. But we're doing our best and chipping away at this, right? I think that's sort of a perspective that could be helpful, that you are probably not good enough yet, which is okay, right? But it's okay. We all have a journey to actually get to it. I think this is like a Netflix show that, what's it called? It's okay to not be okay, right? I think that's kind of it's a Korean drama. I think that it's a very good point. I think it relates to mental health as well, which is I think important to note that it's not instant. There's a process, and we don't have to think we're all that yet, right? I think no one's got it figured out. I think what we heard from you, Gurmit, is that as someone that's so looked up to in such a big spotlight piece, you still haven't got like some things you struggle with here and there. You're still human. We all have our own like demons and struggles inside, and the best of us have it. So much more so, all of us don't have to feel like we need to have it figured out, right? I think that's a key thing. Anything to add to that? Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something. This reminds me of a story about how we are not good enough yet. When I was in the TV station, this is I think the first 3 months maybe. I'm a greenhorn. I'm doing the best I can. I'm making people laugh. I feel I'm doing a good show. So far, the feedback has been good. And then one morning, the manager calls me up. He says, "Come to the office." Now, you only get to the office because either one, you're getting a pay raise, which can't be because only 3 months, or there's a complaint. And I'm thinking, what have I done? What did I do for someone to complain about me? Did I say anything vulgar? No. Did I offend anybody? Was I racist to my own self? No. So walked up, and then manager sat me down and said, "Okay, there's a letter now. There's a complaint about you." I said, "Wow, letter? Someone actually wrote in." So he read the letter. To whom it may concern, I wanted to put it on record that I'm no longer a fan of Gurmit Singh. I will not support him anymore. I am disgusted with Gurmit Singh. I was like, disgusted. That's a strong word. What did I do to disgust this person? And I'm flashing back like my personal life, even like what have I done outside of the station or the studio? I can't find anything, right? And then the letter goes on to say, this is because his hair parting is on the wrong side. My hair parting, which is on the left, should be on the right, according to this person. And because of that, I am no longer... So I looked at the manager and said, okay, so if I read what I think I'm reading, therefore tomorrow I should change my parting from left to right then, so that we can... He says, no, because if you do that, then somebody who doesn't like the parting on the right-hand side will send another letter. So I said, what is going on? So I put the parting on my right, on my center then. Center parting, that's good, right? That's like middle ground. That's like, very partial, impartial. I said, no. So the manager said, what you don't get is that no matter how many partings you do, you will never satisfy everybody. So the moral of the story is you can never please everyone. The important thing to remember is that whatever you're doing, wherever you are doing whatever you're doing at your best ability without at the expense of somebody else, and your conscience is clear. And then haters will be haters, let them do whatever they want. So I learned a valuable lesson then. So whenever I have this kind of overwhelming, like so much hate coming through, I always think of that story and think about, okay, are these criticism valid? If I really done something wrong, if I've done something wrong, I will own it and I'll apologize, because there's no two ways about it. In fact, I had the recent trespassed with the LTA, traffic police, and my license was suspended for 3 months. And I was wrong. I did not like what I did, and I put it on social media and served my time of 3 months. And in that 3 months, a lot of criticism. Some people say you are the worst father. Some people say, go and die. I'm going to beat you up. It was like a whole lot of hate. But I stood behind this barricade of sorts, mental barricade, that you can say whatever you want because you have the right to be angry with me. You have the right. But I don't have the right to do whatever you say I must do. If you say jump off the building, no, I won't do that. Because that's the easy way out. That's not owning my mistake. Owning my mistake isn't running away from it or isn't taking my life. Owning my mistake is facing whatever I have to face, the 3-month sentence or whatever punishment it is, and going through that and then coming out hopefully a better person. And then moving on with life and show everybody, okay, done. Thank you very much. I can move on now.
That's such a super insightful story. And it's a good one that it was one of the last things I want to ask you about, which is what is the tips you had for anyone listening and how you can take care of yourself better and mental well-being, right? I think knowing that you can't please everyone is a great point. I think a story is a great one that your manager shared with you as well, that you shouldn't need to please everyone. But also you ultimately control. People can send whatever they want, they can do whatever they want, it's a free world, you do what you want. But how you react and perceive it, it's on you to figure out. Again, you will be affected naturally so, but I think ultimately you still call the shots to draw the line. So yeah, I think that is really, really insightful. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this session today, and more importantly, your own journey. I do think it does help a lot of people relate better to this whole subject itself. So we're going to conclude this session today. It's been a real pleasure, Gurmit. And Linda
Likewise.
as well, thank you for sharing your perspective as to how a clinical psychologist sees that we can practice self-care or deal with our own struggles as well. So yeah, we're going to conclude this session. Coming up, firstly, thanks for tuning in. And the next session coming up, it's the digitalization of mental health care, right? So appreciate you joining the Mental Festival Asia 2021. We have Gurmit today joining us to share his journey and story. Thank you very much, Gurmit, and thanks very much, Linda, as well. See you guys.
Thank
Have a
you
good
so
one.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.